Welcome back to Creative Harbor. In this video, I'll be using photo reference to initiate a rough sketch. Right now, I'm showing you my Boston Terrier Harbor, and this is a Victorian chair that I found doing a Google internet search. I'm going to combine these two images using my own art style. I like to base my artwork off of realism and then bend the rules to fit the visual look that I'm going for. I really wanted this to look a little bit like watercolor, also in the art style of Alwyn Walt Peregoy, who was the artist on 101 Dalmatians. I didn't want to keep things too tight. I wanted the piece to interject fun with bright colors and the cartoonish flair. My intent was to have the eye focus on the center. The subject matter, which is my pup Harbor, is positioned off-center to the left. You're seeing me make faint lines, which I'll use to keep everything confined to the center area. Now you can start to see Harbor develop a little bit more because I'm laying in some darker lines, which give me a reference of where I'm going to put the ink down. I have a pretty heavy hand, and I'm still working on keeping my sketches loose and lightly at first. These first lines are not made to be permanent, but are a base or a skeleton, if you will. I then come back around with darker lines to start developing the shape and the picture or the meat. I intend for this piece to be fun and whimsical, that is only based off of realism. I'll be quicker to lay down the ink, knowing that it's a less finished fill. If my intent was for a more finished result to reflect true realism, then I would spend more time developing light lines, layering them down until I reached my desired effect. And I want this piece to reflect energy, although Harbor has a tranquil, studious face. Oh, there's Exhibit A. Look at that face. So right now I'm using this reference photo of Harb, and I'm trying to develop the shape of his skull and face and make sure that I'm laying in his eyes correctly. I had erased the eyes because when referencing my reference photo, I noticed his eyes were off kilter. So I went ahead, erased it, and laid them back down in a more natural placement, where his eyes would be if they were sitting in the socket of the skull. This is a calligraphy pen, and it comes in two separate pieces. What dispenses the ink is called a nib, and this is the handle. Nibs come in various sizes. The one that I am using is Hunt Extra Fine 512. I'm dipping it into India ink, and normally it flows out so easily, but you can watch me here as I'm struggling and I'm re-dipping it into the ink and trying to get it to dispense on the paper, and I'm just having the hardest time. And I believe it might be because the nib itself is a little bit dirty. And that's my fault because I should have cleaned it out better last time when I had used it. You can see that huge dollop of India ink right above his ear. And that wasn't going to deter me. I was just going to keep pushing forward trying to finish this piece. I knew it was something that I could easily fade into the background. Although it really did irk me, I pushed through it. I wanted to take some time to also touch on the subject of using reference photos. I know sometimes there can be a negative stigma attached to it. I just wanted to say that art is a visual language, and it's a great way of expressing a story or a feeling through color. For example, you can use yellow for warmth and energy, and you could use blue for remorse and cold. With that being said, we all start off learning language from a young age by listening and then by practicing by speaking. The same goes for visual arts, by learning visually from others. I'll never forget the first time I saw The Great Wave by Kasushka Haskai, and I could be saying his name wrong. Oops, This is my cat Phoenix. If she fits, she sits. His interpretation of water movement in the wave crashing down onto the tiny little fishing boat excited me. I remember being so thrilled that I had finally found the visual for what that movement had actually looked like to me. There's a big difference between using reference photos as a crutch versus as an education tool, and only you know where you fall in between those two lines. But I think the important thing is not to associate a sense of guilt by using them. On a lighter note, I wanted to show you the Prismacolor Premier double-ended marker that I'm using to color with. Each end has a felt tip. One is wide that allows for more area to be colored, and the other has a smaller tip that allows for more precise placement of the pen. I had used these in my last video where I had made an octopi. This is my second time using them, and I'm still getting a good feel for them, but I'm thoroughly enjoying the end result they are giving me. So far I've been really happy with them, and I found that they blend and transition really nicely. You can see here with the wood where I've laid down a darker color to emphasize shadow that it's doing a really good job with transitioning without any assistance. What I wanted to highlight for you guys is the Prismacolor Colorless Blender. It lifts up some of the saturation of the ink and helps blend the two colors. You can see here on the couch where I have the darker blue laid down for shadow, and then I'm very easily able to blend it to give it a smooth transition so it all looks like a cohesive unit. For the rest of the video, I'll be manipulating the colors around, layering and blending to make shadows. For the highlights, I'm still using a Sakura Jelly Roll point pen in white. Since most of Harbor's coat is black, and my goal is to show some muscle and shape to his form, I end up relying heavily on the Colorless Blender to push the black saturation around, and it helps with the gray highlights. Ultimately, I also end up using a number 156 in French Gray as a middle color, and I also use it to help give back some saturation to the blackest areas where I may have lifted too much pigment. I use some of the color pencils to add some shadow and texture, especially to the Victorian chair. My goal was to have the chair look shabby chic. The cushions are worn and gives away easily at the weight of the dog, hopefully giving the emphasis that it is well loved and used. A nice old comfortable chair. The toys that are in this picture accompanying Harbor are some of his favorite ones. We have Clementine the pig, Monkey Arm, which is swung over the chair, and nestled between the couch cushions is his Holy Roller Ball, which I've easily probably have bought 100 of, if not more. Those suckers go quick in this household. I had a lot of fun making this video for you guys. Right now I am in the middle of Inktober. I hope you guys are participating this year. It is my first, and it's been challenging but really fun to participate in. If you're interested in seeing what I've done so far, I have posted each one of them on Instagram, and you can find me at creative_harbor. And we're at the end of the video, so I will post a picture at the very end so you can see an up-close end result. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.